Welcome everybody out there to our today's webinar here at JFD Brokers. Yeah, today is the 30th of August 2018, 7 o'clock, so usual time. It's right to start exactly that kind of webinar. And my name is Stefan Friedrichowski. As you know, my last name is really complicated, so whenever you get in touch with me, sending me an email or using the chat functionality here, just call me Stefan. That's fair enough. And yeah, and I will do the same with you. For the German webinars, it's always a little bit more funny because you know that we have in the German language we distinguish how to name each other, but anyhow, it's always just like you, at least for my webinars. Yeah, today is really a special webinar, and you might imagine that's about a little bit different topic. So today, honestly, we do not talk directly how to develop the next strategy. That for sure we will do once again next week already, because already next week we have the next webinar. Then it's once again about how to develop a trading strategy, and we go there for stock trading, but now from a totally different perspective. But anyhow, today it's more about investing and trading from a single source. As you see the title here, I've changed the title a little bit from the original webinar announcement, but today is really a special day. Since a couple of days, there's something new on JFD. Or at JFD, you find new things on the web page, and of course, it's about trading. Of course, it's about trading strategies. But now the different story is that you can be part of all those strategies we have discussed here during the webinars, because simply you can follow now those trading strategies. It's not already all of them what we have done during the last 1.5 years. There's a selection. Of course, that will be a topic later about that kind of selection. And it's not only strategies from my end. There are at least 2 other strategies from other guys, but you will see. And finally, what's really important and interesting for me is that this is now really a new opportunity, a new offer, because sometimes we talk about quite complicated strategies here during those webinars, and definitely it's not straightforward to implement those strategies by your own. Sometimes you definitely need an expert advisor to do the job, or the trading frequency is too high to manage everything manually. So it's something which makes the life for you easy, and therefore it's about investing and trading, and everything from a single source. So everything is done at JFD Brokers. So you see already my email address, so you know how to get in touch with me if you have any questions. Slides, okay, the slides are already uploaded today. There's no Excel sheet. It's funny that I have a webinar here without any Excel sheet, but so only the slides. But if you miss it to download, you can just send me an email as always. And the webinar is recorded, and you will find the recordings on the JFD YouTube channel from tomorrow onwards. Good. But anyhow, it's really time to start and talk a little bit more about investing and trading. But before doing so, you know that I have always to show at least once that particular slide about the risk disclaimer. So we talk about trading, and we talk about trading strategies, but as always, if it finally comes to trades, those trades are always on your responsibility. So, but you know, that's that story. And in this case, it's a little bit different, honestly, because if you like that kind of approach of what we call JFD Invest and what we call mirror trading, if you want to really follow those strategies, then yeah, there's an additional risk disclaimer or something you have to confirm, but that is also a topic later. Let me introduce the topic a little bit more, because what we are talking about here today is something you should call digital wealth management. And I have to make a remark here, because always when I do the kind of webinar here in English, of course, I call it wealth management. And yeah, it's funny because my wife is always laughing when I pronounce words, because I pronounce it um, badly, wrong. And there's a German kind of fish which sounds quite similar. The name is Wels. But anyhow, so sometimes if I talk to my wife, I talk about fish management. But anyhow, that's only because the pronunciation of th is always a little bit complicated for not native English speaker. But I think you can apologize for that wrong pronunciation. But we talk about digital wealth management at JFD, and it's the overall topic here is JFD Invest, and practically what you can later do is you can follow those strategies. We don't call it social trading. There's a specific reason behind, and therefore it's just called mirror trading. So those trades are mirrored in your account or copied into your account. Why we don't use the phrase social trading? I think that phrase is a little bit occupied, not that good, because there have been and there are around a couple of trading platforms where you can do similar things and copy trades and copy other people's strategies and accounts, but it's not that serious, because sometimes you can even copy demo accounts into real accounts, and one has to question what's always behind. And only because you have a history of a few days with good trades. No, so what we're doing here is really a pre-selection of strategies you will see, and so it's something really different. Of course, I will show the platform, the JFD investment platform, the website and everything, how it's running and what you can do for selection purposes. Of course, we talk about the 3 steps to become part of JFD Invest, what to do. But the good thing is you can already directly, even without any account at JFD, you can have a look to that. So you can get a feeling of what's going around and what opportunities are out there. So that's a good thing. But finally, of course, you can be a real part of JFD Invest as well. So you can be an investor. Since we could talk about trading strategies later, of course, I can show you some more details than they are published on the website. Simple reason, because most of the strategies come from my end, so it's easy for me to talk about those. But I will talk about others as well, because it's a good mixture, and it's really good to have not only a single source for that we have different offerings there, and we go around those strategies. Yeah, finally, of course, one has always to talk about costs, and not costs in terms of trading as for all the other webinars when we talk about spreads and commissions. No, we have to talk about fees. There is no management fee, that I can tell you already straightforward. But if the strategy is doing well, then there is a fee, and that fee is calculated according to the high watermark principles. And maybe not everybody is familiar with that kind of calculation, so I will go for that as well. And the other thing I go in detail is what is called bulk execution. It's really a funny name, and I like that name. Bulk execution or bulk order execution is a way how trades are managed if you are becoming an investor. And it's once again like JFD, just fair and direct. It's about fairness, how those trades are managed, and finally you will see that all the trades will be one single trade, and that's good, because then everybody is getting the same price. So that's the overview. But so You know already, JFD Invest is a digital wealth management. But what we are doing here is we go for top trading strategies which are pre-selected at JFD. So there are a couple of people looking around for those strategies. So there's really something like a review of those strategies. It's a real review that we look for stop loss settings, that we look for risk management, that we look whether those strategies are partly or slightly martingale, yes or no, and how trades are managed. And finally, of course, we look for the equity and daily profits, daily deviation of profits, and everything like that. And only if it passes that kind of review, then the strategy becomes public at JFD Invest. And you will see later a little bit of those pre-selection criteria, because that is what I will show you on that website as well. So finally, if you like, of course, then you can copy those trades, but according to your personal settings. That means you can create a specific account, and then you can say, okay, I go for 600 euros for that strategy and 800 euros for the other one, and so on. So what you need is a JFD Invest account, and I will go for that once again later a little bit more. What is good that finally, if you're doing something like that, that you don't need any expert advisor. So you don't have to code MQL4 to run those strategies. And if you would do already that step, to have an expert advisor, then next step would be that you would need what is called a VPS, a virtual private server, that is a rented computer somewhere. So that this computer has good power supply, good internet, 24 hours a day, not maybe like at home. So you need something like that your trading activities are controlled permanently. Everything like that you don't need. The only thing is you do some selections on the web page, and then finally everything is done by JFD Invest and by JFD. So that makes the story easy because you don't need any technical environment for that, and you can go straight forward for trading. Okay, having said that much about, let's go into the real thing here. So if I go to the JFD webpage, and maybe you have already realized that there is a new button, but we haven't up to now really sent out emails about that. So it's public, I think, since a week now. And there we have now a new button which is called Investing, and you will find JFD Invest. And of course, I simply will click it. So and when that web page is online, and always I have to apologize that doing internet here and simultaneously doing the webinar is always a little bit a nightmare because everything goes through the same internet. And but now we have it. So investing made easy, and that's really easy what we are doing here. And let me directly jump to what's most interesting. So already on the web page, you will find the top 5 performing strategies. So you see here already a small selection, 5 strategies, different names, of course. The names are a little bit more marketing-like. So I have always the problem to translate those strategies into my naming. But the good thing is later I will see the account number, and the account number, then I know exactly what strategy is behind. And looking to those numbers already, return in percent of that account sounds interesting. So you see here strategies which have a return of more than 10%. And even if you look to those numbers which are year to date, that means, of course, since January this year, we have similar numbers. So they are really quite good, those strategies. So you see last month, that means, of course, we have drawdowns here, no question. And yeah, but it's really impressive what's possible. A little bit more, and I would say maybe too good. But you know my comment like that. So what we are not looking here for strategies which double your account in a month, because I do not think that is would be a serious offer. It might be possible for a month, maybe for two, but not longer. If so, just send me an email, and of course, I will get in touch with you. If you have something like that, I would be very interested, but I would not believe it's at least not straightforward. But anyhow, so we have those pre-selection of strategies. Everything behind is always live. So we don't use any demo account just to get nice numbers, and no, everything is real, everything is live. That's important because, as the name of JFD, just fair and direct, we want to be serious here. We want to be other than other offerings you will find. And yeah, that's already the first thing. Top 5 performance strategies. But there are a little bit more already now, and there will come even more during the next days and months. Just press follow, then you get direct access to the real JFD Invest platform. And that will open in a second here, but let me first go for those 8 strategies. So it's not only more 5. You see the total amount here is 8. The selection for the web page is done daily, and the numbers might deviate because the numbers on the web page do not update. Here we have always the latest numbers, and of course I want to introduce here a little bit more so what you can see, because that is the important thing. Now you have a couple of strategies here, but how to judge by your own, and it's an extremely important point here, because what you have to do finally is find what really fits to you. Okay, there might be one, let's call it strategy, to say I always go for the one with the highest return, and I don't care about anything else. Okay, that would not be my preference, but I will show you what creates my attention and what kind of numbers I would use in order to really judge, review those strategies. Let's go, for example, for one, steady growth, impressive 50% since January. And if you later will see that the strategy is really live since April, the number becomes a little bit even more impressive. So you see first trades has been done on the 2nd of March. Oh, so it's not April, it's March. Sorry, my mistake. But anyhow, so of course you can see for a given strategy, after just clicking the button, you see the growth. That's always the first picture you have. It's just the growth. And since you're a trader, you know that accounts go up, accounts go down, and something like that. So you see already what kind of account is it, because there has been a withdrawal once. So it's a 20K account. Good thing is, if you click the button detail, you will see minimum investment 500 euros. That's good. So you know that it's quite easy to follow. You don't need big money for that. So later I will show you how to do it, and that we will talk about risk allocation. But even that account you can trade with 500 euro being the minimum. So, but let's go a little bit through the numbers we can have here. Growth, equity returns, volume, farming is not that important. It's just another calculation of growth, but anyhow. And we have something like equity balance deviation. Sounds strange. But it's very important to have that. And I think JFD is the only platform who is really offering something like that. Of course, if you go for FX Blue and looking for account reviews or details there, you can do more or less a similar thing. But presenting really equity and balance simultaneously, that's something really new, or especially it's important. Let's have a look. Let's start with equity, because then we have already two lines. Unfortunately, they are in the same color, but anyhow, we have two green lines here. The upper one is the balance. And if you see my cursor here, and just keep it a second at one place, then you will see, okay, there's a balance of 29K and an equity of about 26K. Okay, what is the reason? Balance is always your account in terms of closed trades. Equity is always including open trades. And of course, those trades might be positive or negative. And later we will see that, of course, it's possible to have an equity above balance. For this account, it's not looking like that, but that has specific reasons. I will show you other accounts later. So, but why is it that important to look to both numbers, balance and equity? Because what really counts is the equity. Because what we need to know is that, I rephrase everything. On other platforms, you would just see the upper green line, which is more or less steady growing from left lower corner to right upper corner. But that's not the complete story. It's important that you know that during those trades, there might be floating losses. The good thing for that strategy, all the floating losses have always been recovered. Not always. There's even in the balance, there's a drawdown. Here, if you see now, and follow my cursor here, but we present it. We are that transparent that we even show deviations from balance and equity. There are hundreds of other accounts which have a brilliant balance, but really an ugly equity. And to show both is important. It's important for you because, remember my sentence, you have to find strategies which really fit to your interest, to your settings. It's like trading itself. So you would not trade a strategy which does not fit to your personal trading activities. So the good thing is, okay, on the one hand, we have really an impressive growth of 15%, but from time to time, we have those deviations. Okay, we know that. And you can get that even more impressive just visually looking to the equity balance deviation. If I press that button here, then you see, okay, from time to time, there have been deviations of 25% between equity and balance, but it recovers. So that's a good thing here. You might be interested about the traded volume. I don't know. And of course, just the return, the daily return is another very important measure and a very important key figure, because when it comes to trading, it comes to psychology. You know that from your own trading activities. So you have daily profits, losses, and you have to look, okay, for this account, we have sometimes returns from one day to the other of 8%, but on the other hand, sometimes we have losses, which are a little bit smaller. So it's good to show that because it's related to the question, does a strategy fit to your trading style, to what you want to have later in your account? And therefore, we present everything of those data just to give you all the information to come to your selection and that you really know what you might follow finally. So that is something for me personally extremely important to have that view on returns on a daily basis, just to see the volatility of the trading strategy. It's not the volatility of the market. It's yeah, what can I expect? Always, this is a history, and you know the sentence. There's no guarantee for the future, but what I would expect is always to have similar volatility in the future because it's the same trading strategy. There are much more details. You have a monthly return table, which I like quite well because not only the visual behavior, just to look to those numbers. Of course, we have advanced statistics here, all key figures about the strategy, all around of average trade duration. But what counts for me is, for example, number of trades. Just to see, okay, it's not a strategy which is trading maybe 10 trades during the last 4 months. To have here some statistics, and therefore it's good to know how many trades have been executed. You might even be interested in instruments. Okay, every instrument here is in 4x, but anyhow, that's only a visualization problem. Quite difficult to pronounce that word. But anyhow, what we see is that mainly the account is trading DAX and Dow Jones. Also a question which might be related to your own to your own trading style, just to ask or to answer the question, does the strategy fit to what you are doing? Because maybe you would not follow a strategy which is trading some weird instruments which you even don't know or might not know. So this one is mainly trading DAX and Dow Jones. Okay, sounds familiar. So that you can see as well. Close positions, we come to that when we later log into here, because then we get more details. So let's start. That's an overview. And of course, there are a couple of more strategies, and I will show you another step in a minute. But first, to say, hey, maybe you are already a little bit more curious. So finally, you would need 3 steps to be part of JFD Invest. The first step, it's not really a step, is I just call it just looking. Just looking is always possible. So what I have done up to now, you can do all the time. You just go to the JFD webpage and go to invest or investing. It's called, then you get the same here. Just press one button on the page, then you are there. It's similar like to be as a guest there. The next step would be to create your own profile. What does it mean? Maybe you are already a customer of JFD. You know about that. My JFD, it's not the same here. It's just, and everybody can do it, to create an own profile. That means you need an email address and a password. You select the one, of course, and it's just your profile. Having done that, then you get more information about open trades, for example. You might even enable email notifications about new strategies and so on, if you like. You can disable everything, and it is disabled, I think, from the very beginning. So that's the first step. Create your own profile. The next step, if you really want to follow a strategy, then you need to open what is called a JFD Invest account. That is not a standard account at JFD. 2 reasons. So when I say standard account, then I mean an account like you might have already, because in that JFD Invest account, you cannot trade. That sounds strange. Only copied trades are executed in those accounts, which implies, or which means, because that's always a question when it comes here to trade copying, you cannot manipulate those trades. You cannot change stop loss settings or take profits. You cannot even close those trades. What you can do is, every day you can say, yes, I want to follow the strategy, or I want to disconnect. That you can do, and trades are closed, of course, if you would disconnect the strategy from your JFD Invest account. In that JFD Invest account, all the trades are copied. The other good thing is, because we you know the story about ESMA. ESMA is that regulation about leverage of accounts. Those accounts, JFD Invest accounts, are always what's called professional accounts. So the leverage is 1 to 100. It's not really meant that we use that leverage or that we need that leverage, but at least it has that leverage. So it's a completely separate account, no standard account, and you cannot use an existing account which you trade maybe right now. You just need another account. It's really quite easy to open that account. So let's have a look what happens if we log in to right here. So we want, for example, we want to invest. Oh, and then you see already, guest access. No, now either you might not have already a profile here, so then you just press this one. For me, it's a little bit easier because I have already a profile with my email address and my password, and now I'm logged into the JFD Invest platform. And there are a few things which change if you log in, if you have that profile. And that profile does not mean anything else. So you don't have to pay money or whatever, no. But now you have access to some more things, like you can like strategies or dislike them. You get the dashboard, you get announcement. You can even play around with the settings here. But anyhow, let's go once again to the strategies, because what's now new is, let's for example go for the first one here, which is called Gold Mine. It's always funny because those names are made by marketing, but you see another equity, and that's an impressive equity as well. Yeah, I think you would agree. And what we see, okay, we have up and downs within our growth here, and I would revisit the topic of equity balance deviation. Let's have a look directly to that. And now we see that from time to time the equity is above the balance, of course, as it should be, or as because that's of course possible. But you see, for this strategy, the deviation is not that huge. So trades are managed by a stop loss, and from time to time stop losses happen. And since I know that strategy much more in detail, and I will go later directly to the VPS, that you can see a little bit more about what's going around with that strategy. Today has been such a stop loss event, therefore we have a small drawdown at the very end. And what you can see now, and that's different to if you don't have a profile, you see all closed positions. So you can really look how the trades are managed. You can look to every individual trade of that account. Okay, in this case, you would have to open 85 pages here, but you see it's completely transparent. All the trades are shown up here, and you have access to that. So that's quite well. Let's come back to how to select strategies for your own. As always, what I like is to have a look to the daily return. The daily return tells you the volatility of a strategy. And here that strategy runs with smaller volatility, but at least once we have had a daily return of minus 5%. Okay. But on the other hand, we have had nearly the same on the other side as well. But it's not that volatile than other strategies. So that's something you always have to consider when it comes to selection of strategies. And why I'm telling you all those stories, because that is, I want to create a little bit added value here as well, that we learn about trading, that we learn about how to review other people trading accounts, and of course you know that I'm doing something like that quite often, and that's exactly what I do to review those things. We have monthly return table here, so everything quite well. And finally, once again, let's have a look to that equity balance deviation. Then you see, okay, numbers are go down to -3%. Okay, so you can do things like that. Let's come to the step you want to really to follow. Hey, then you want to press invest. And now you see we need something else. You see here that either you have to open a new account in JFD Invest as an additional invest account, or it might be your first one. There's a difference because there's a questionnaire you have to answer once in your life when you open your first invest account. So since I don't have one, I will press that button. And you see, then I have to log in to JFD. No problem, I can do that. And then there's only one thing I want to show you. Oh yeah, no, now I have to answer some questions here that I'm not a robot. So crosswalks, let's go for crosswalks on those pictures. Is there a crosswalk? I don't think so. Okay, so now I can log in. Sorry for that delay, but you know, from time to time to have to do that. And the only thing is now it would be to open that JFD Invest account, and there are only two things you have to confirm. One is your age, and the other one, that's really important, that you have reviewed the limited power of attorney. What's behind that? Finally, what happens here is that somebody else is trading in your account. And of course, that needs your approval. This somebody else is technic, but anyhow, so that needs your definite approval. And then you can start trading or selection. Let's go not anymore there, but the final thing I want to show here. If you have such a trading account, then you can do what I would call is your own portfolio manager. Because what you can do is that you select certain strategy and you allocate some amount of money, or you allocate money to a specific strategy. And that's quite cool what you're doing now, because you behave like a portfolio manager. You have, in this case, a selection of pre-selected 8 strategies, but now it's up to you to say, okay, I like this one. I want to have that one as well. I have reviewed all the equity curves in order to see whether they are correlated or uncorrelated. And that's something I care a lot of for that purpose, that I don't have, let's say, 2 long strategies, one on DAX and the other one on Dow Jones, and next one on S&P 500, and all are more or less trading long, same time frame. No, because then those strategies would be correlated, and that's something I don't like. Therefore, it's good to have all the information here on the web page to look for those trades, and just already with your eye you can look for correlation between equities. So then here it's up to you to say, I want to allocate that amount of money to that strategy, that amount of money to that strategy, and so on and so forth. So you are really a portfolio manager here. And in total, I would call it a passive investment. It's not the same, or it's similar to just go to your bank and say, here is money, please make the money more. Now you are still part of the game, because you select and you do the risk allocation of your own portfolio. You might have seen already that that there is a fee, and I mentioned already that there is no management fee. So just for example here, the performance fee. Oops, is gone. A performance fee of that strategy is 25%. But what does it mean? It's not that you have to pay from your account 25%. No, it's a different story. The story behind is high watermark. And in order to explain it a little bit more in detail, because we talk about costs, we talk about fees, so that is something you're definitely interested as well. So I repeat myself, no management fee, so no baseline costs like 1% per year of your account or 2%. No, you only pay if there are profits. Let's go through the picture because then it becomes obvious what is high watermark. So let's start with an equity of, let's say, 1,000 euros. At the end of the first month, we might end with an equity of 1,200. Perfect. So strategy has 20% profit. And out of those 200 euros, we calculate the performance fee, which is 25%. So it would be 50 euros. Good. Next month, once again, a good month. Additional 200 euros come on top. Since we are once again the end of the month, so there would be fees for that month as well. So next month we have a drawdown, so we lose 300 euros, and of course you don't have to pay anything. What's always now important that everything is measured against the last high at end of the month. So that is the point of interest here now. Let's go for the upcoming months even a little more in detail. Let's say in the middle of the month, we are at 1,600. Still, you don't have to pay because it's the middle of the month. And assume that at the end of the month, we are back to 1,100. That means you don't have to pay once again here because you only would have to pay if a new end of the month is above 1,400. Only this case. So finally, high watermark is, at least to my knowledge, the best you can do as offering something like that, because it's really quite fair and you only have to pay if the strategy is successful. So if there are profits, okay, then you might be, let's say, willing or accepting that you have to pay something. But if there are no profits, you don't have to pay. At least that is fair enough because you have lost money, but you don't have to pay even for the losses. So that's really quite fair. I mentioned already another step which is important when it comes to social trading, trade copying, trade mirror activities, and that is the technique behind. And that is illustrated in that picture here. And in the brokerage scene, that is called bulk order execution. And bulk order execution is really good. Let's assume that we have 4 investors connected to JFD Invest, so meaning, let's say, 4 people who are following one particular strategy. And of course, there is a strategy offerer, somebody who's really taking care of the master account, the one which plays all the trades, which is really doing the job. And now the following happens. Think about the master account is doing a trade. Okay, that trade goes directly to the bridge, and that means bridge is, in terms of brokerage, that company who is allocating all the trades from different brokers and is connected to the liquidity pool, and behind the liquidity pool, and we talked about that already in another webinar a couple of months ago, behind the liquidity pool are banks. For example, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and so on. So because they are finally your counterpart for a trade. So that is the one channel. And the other one is all those copied trades which come from investor 1 or are for investor 1, investor 2, investor 3, they are aggregated, they are accumulated to one single trade. And that one single trade is transferred to the bridge as well, and is transferred and then the trade comes through to the liquidity pool to the banks, which are the counterparts. That means that all the investors get the same price. So if you have a colleague and who is following the same strategy, and if you would ask, hey, how was execution of last euro US dollar trade? Both would answer the same number, which is good because then everything is even fair more. So that is bulk order execution. It guarantees same execution for all investors, which is important. As I mentioned, because when we look here to our table of strategies, I want to go into, for examples, a little bit more in detail. Of course, the number one is always interesting. I know that, but not because number one is the one here. I would say that is the best one. No, it's a question of what fits to you. But nevertheless, let's go for that one. For that one, I can tell you a little bit more because I'm personally trading that one. And I have to add here, it's only since a couple of days the strategy is the number one here. Before that, it was the second one here, which is really performing well as well. So it's on VPS3 and this trading account behind, and you could now even compare account numbers here. So, and if you are familiar with the numbering at JFD, then you definitely will know that this is an account which is a real live account. And now in a second, I hope you get the screen now. You have it. You see all the details of that account. Okay, this you cannot have directly through the JFD Invest platform. At least what you would have realized on that platform is that that strategy is trading 13 different underlyings, 13 different symbols, a couple of forex symbols, as well as gold. But honestly, for me personally, gold is just another forex pair. But okay, that's maybe different for you, but for me, it's just another forex pair. And of course, what you can see here, and I mentioned that already, that we have one negative sequence of negative trades for today, but that's okay. Reaching stop loss is fair enough. Still, that account has, as you can see here below in very small numbers, the difference between balance, which is Kontostand, and equity, which is equity, is now positive here. So everything is managed, everything is well done, or at least well allocated. The strategy behind is, if you look to the naming of the expert advisor, then you have three names here. PT stands for position trading one, that is a kind of grid trading, but nothing martingale and always a stop loss, as you have seen here, because we have reached the stop loss for that trade sequence. We are using power candles here. Power candles are the entry trigger for a trade sequence. So in case we realize a big enough H1 candle, then that will trigger trade. And the name follow means that we open the trade into the direction of the power candle. We talked about that strategy a couple of months ago already. And what I would like to repeat here is, as you know, that if it comes to trading strategies out of my hand, that what I'm always doing already during the development phase of trading strategy, I use the walk forward methodology in order to create the strategy or to test that strategy, not just a single back test for the complete history you have in mind. No, it's that case of, and we have that thing in the webinars, that we have a period for optimization, then we go into the upcoming future and we apply our parameters to that future, and that step is repeated during the complete history of data. And now what's happening here is I do still the same. It's not only a methodology for doing another backtest. No, I use the same methodology today, now. That means the underlying parameters, like what is the size of a power candle, where to set stop losses, where to do rebuys, is dynamically. So everything is recalculated for this strategy, I think every 1.5 months. And I do not do it simultaneously for all underlyings. It's stepwise. So it's about 2 underlyings a week, which get new parameters. And that is a good thing that you have now, via JFD Invest, access to strategies which are really self-adapting to the market situations. And that is the other kind of description of back-forward testing for the development phase. But using the same for the real life trading means that you adapt those parameters because markets are changing. That means strategies have to change as well, and that is reflected in changed parameters. And now you have that access to that kind of strategy, which is really a little bit more high end and not straightforward. It's not the same or the simple rule-based strategies like I open always my trade at 10 o'clock and you name it, because of specific rules, and those rules will never change. Here are rules as well, yes, but there's a logic of how to calculate those parameters, and those parameters change. So we have self-adapting dynamic strategies, and they are now available for you as well. Having seen that kind of strategy, let's discuss one other one. Let's go a little bit down the road here to see a little bit more of strategies. And it takes a second just to upload those data. And now I think you have it. And let's look for the growth here. Okay, that looks more, let's say, like a typical trading account. Hopefully, you have the same results in your trading account. But anyhow, so you know the story. It goes up, goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Looks like a little bit like Dow Jones or DAX for a specific time frame, but it's not trading Dow Jones or something like that. So it's a real trading account, typical behavior. And if you look here for that deviation between equity and balance, it's more or less most of the time even positive. So equity is above balance. So trades in most of the time start quite positive. That kind of trading account is not that heavy trader. It's within the time frame here, it has executed nearly 80 trades. And if you look for the instruments, which is always interesting to have a view on that, then you can see, okay, it's about 10 instruments which are traded here. And since I know that strategy quite well, let's go for that one in detail here. It's not really by purpose that if we look now to that kind of trading strategy, it's related to power candles as well, but in a different way. So there are no rebuys or no trade sequences. It's always a single trade activity. Single trade activity means if we encounter a big candle, here's logic is a little bit different. It's not just there's a big candle, let's open a trade at the end of that candle. No. Here we do buy limit orders or sell limit orders. Let's I think that candle here, if I go here where now my cursor is for Swiss franc, Japanese yen, that candle was slightly below this threshold to be labeled a power candle, but can use that candle to illustrate how the strategy works. The other strategy we discussed on the other screen would have opened trades directly at the end of that candle. This strategy is looking for some drawbacks. It would place the order as a buy limit order. Buy limit because we have a long power candle, which is close to be labeled a power candle because threshold was not exceeded. But just how that would work. Then there's a buy limit percentage value, and that is calculated on the base of the body of the power candle. And for example, the order would have been placed here. So slightly not filled, but just to illustrate how the strategy works. If we have an ongoing trade, there will be all other power candles will be not realized. We just care for that single trade. And what you see, for example, here right now, we don't have any pending order, and all the pending orders which have been there are filled. So we have right now 5 orders here ongoing. All trades are running, and at least the sum of those trades is positive. So totally different strategy, totally uncorrelated to the first one. Only within the name we find 2 times power candles, but here we are talking about D1 strategy daily, and the other one was based on H1, so hourly. So different symbols, different setups, like rebuys on the one hand or trade sequences. Here we have single trade activities for a single symbol, so completely different story. And that's how it works. So you see, a couple of strategies. You might have a close view to all those strategies, and if you do it in a week from now, you even might find new one. Yeah, you know what to do, and I hope that I explained a little bit more about how to do your own review on those strategies, because it's important. You are your portfolio manager, your own portfolio manager. You have to make those decisions. The only thing JFD has done is that kind of pre-selection in terms of offering those strategies. But finally, yeah, it's up to you. And yeah, that's already my last slide. And you see my main statement. Now it's your turn. But nothing, or still, what I would always recommend is doing that kind of review process. It's not straightforward always to go for the highest numbers. Look what kind of symbols are traded. Look for single trades. Look for volatility. Does it fit to you, to your style, what you would allow, and then you can do your own portfolio. I personally like that kind of approach JFD is doing here, because now it's easy for you to have those trades copied into your account, and it's absolutely transparent. Look for, or I repeat myself with those equity balance deviation, which is really a huge step in terms of transparency compared to other offerings. So the fees are fair only if there is success, no management fee. So that's exactly how it should be, and that's how it is. Hopefully you enjoyed that kind of webinar as well. Next week, it's already next week, not in 2 weeks. Next week, we talk about how to develop a stock trading strategy really from scratch. And as you know, my webinars or the webinar topics, besides the one from today when I talk about trading strategies, it's always that I talk exactly about those things which I'm really working on. So what I'm doing there, you will find in a couple of months or a couple of weeks, maybe here under JFD Invest or at any other opportunity, because it's always I do those things in parallel, meaning what kind of webinars, what kind of strategies we should go for. And that the next one is about stock trading. I introduced already one what I want to introduce another one, but there I want to go really from scratch, that you see the logic, how I develop and how I come to my ideas, and then it goes further. And it's a two-part webinar, meaning one is next week and the other one is at the end of September. Hopefully you will be there. Hopefully you enjoyed today's webinar. Any questions or still open issues, just send me an email, as always, here at s.friedrichowski@jfdbrokers.com, and I will make sure that you get an answer more or less immediately, or at least on short-term notice. Enjoy the evening. Bye-bye.